Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to continue with the bodywork. We're going to add the fifth wheel to our trolley, so we'll have more mobility with the car. Then we're going to brace the car a little bit further before we start cutting away. The plan is that we actually start with a cross beam that goes here. This one is pretty rusted and we need to cut it out, but before we do that we need to brace the car so it won't flex and we won't lose any measurements. As you can see, we added additional bracing between the doors, so we will keep this length. This one is made with bolts, so it clamps onto the edge and holds it. Now, there has been a lot of questions about putting additional bars in and braces, but you need to kind of do it a little bit rationally, because sometimes people start throwing in bars and then this will limit your access to the area you're working with. And also you only need to prevent translations and movements in certain parts when you're actually working on it. So for example, if we're not doing anything with the front of the car, there's no need for throwing in bars and additional supports because nothing there will flex. So you have to kind of keep in mind what you're doing and what your work can affect. Think about what you cut and what that part holds together. As for example, this crossbeam here holds the width of the car and also the level of each side. So we need to brace that so that won't move when we're working. Then we will probably continue with the chassis rails and make them, and then we'll pick up from there. So, you know, step by step, kind of work from the most structural things further, so the car will have more and more structural strength as we continue with the build. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy. So guys, we had to do some extra work because we were measuring the trolley once more and we found out that we have the measurements wrong for about 2 millimeters, which doesn't sound much, but because this is the main measurement of the chassis that determines where the subframes and the axles will be, this is pretty significant. So we put the hydraulic extensions in it to kind of hold it in place, and then put in extra welds. So now we have the chassis measurements right and we can continue with putting the frame on to the car, so we can start bracing it for future works. So in the last videos I got some interesting comments and questions from friends about additional bracing of the car. Now this is something you need to do, obviously, to prevent body from flexing when you cut it, but you have to kind of think when you put it in, because if you put too many bars in, you can quickly kind of limit your access to the working area. And also you have to think about what you will do if this will affect the geometry of the car and what certain cuts will do. For instance, if we're going to cut the chassis rail, this will affect the length of the car and also the width, so we kind of have to keep that in mind when we put in additional bracing. For instance, this door brace is very important that we keep the length of the door in place so the door will fit and we'll have a nice gap all the way through. Every work requires different bracing. We'll go over them for every step that we will work. Like for instance, when we will do chassis rails, what we will brace, and when we will change the seals or the A-pillar. The A-pillar specifically is kind of hard to brace because the whole thing can move backwards, which will affect your door gap. And also, if you were to get it too high or too low, this can affect your windscreen settings. So this stuff we will be talking about in the future, depending on what work we will do. Yeah. Keep moving, then. Moving. Right. Lock. Lock up.
It was at this moment that he knew. He